Try it again, shall we?
If you needed a paint stripper, she's on stage 6 right now.
I'm pretty sure, did you rip this from the Fifth Element soundtrack?
Nope. Still from our same source. I think his name is Kevin MacLeod. A lot of YouTubers and stuff use that.
Or MacLeod, if you know how to pronounce Scottish names. You know.
It's a lot of letters, man. I don't know.
You are obviously a cunning linguist, my friend.
I wish.
I appreciate that about you. Mellow greetings, friends and returning listeners, and welcome back to the Disinformed podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm John.
And I'm Michael.
We are elated to have you here on this drubbing edition, where someone is twerking so hard in the background that they may have a broken coccyx.
This sounds like it could have been a product like Skrillex's differently abled cousin.
Who's wearing a motorcycle helmet, but backwards.
And that's not to, disparage differently abled people. Like, it's made it somewhere.
Hey, that's my lane, apparently, John, so don't veer over. Oh, gotta love it.
Speaking of differently abled, Michael just celebrated his birthday. What was it, last weekend?
Yes. I don't like where this is going.
Well, that segue should have a police officer on it who is attempting to accost someone on the street.
Oh,
I love you. I'm sorry.
I know what he's getting at.
So, Michael, what's the last thing that you remember on your birthday?
I remember getting up from bed to use the restroom, and I'm, using the restroom, and I'm like, oh, I gotta vomit. And there's a couple of choices that you have in the bathroom. You have the toilet, which was currently occupied, and then there's a little trash can. Myself, my ass. Then you have a little trash can next to it, or you can have the best option there is and choose the bathtub.
You got the bathtub balls though too, so you're gonna have to scrub double hard.
So I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of leading the witness here a little bit because I was going to segue into the compliment of your bathroom looks immaculately clean.
Well, most of that is because we actually had a maid come in last week. It was like 2 days before my birthday.
Back the compliment.
It should be the compliment on the bathtub because that I had to re-clean. Everything else isn't me. I would never be able to clean that.
Well, to be fair, what was it, Friday night that you came in, or was it Saturday? Was it on Friday? It was on a Friday.
It was Friday, yeah.
I work almost every single Friday, and we do penny pints. Your first round is a penny.
Well, we all
for your
float
birthday.
down here.
We all float.
Penny pint.
So we did that, and then basically all the regulars at the bar were just pumping him full of drinks. And I shit you not, the last moment I saw him, I didn't even know that you were blacked out at this point. But he's at our bar, and we have a new TV, and it's huge, and he's just literally open-mouthed, spaced out, watching a nature documentary to the point where I put my face in front of his face to block his view, and I'm like, Michael, what are you doing? He's like, I was just watching the show. That's not what.
I mean, you can't blame me. Like the Mother Earth, like nature documentaries, that Samantha puts on occasionally are just fantastic. I actually zoned out earlier today.
It was just the fact that, you can zone out and watch it and say nothing, that's fine. But the moment that your mouth falls open and you're not aware that your mouth is literally like it's a cartoon character's, face, but for almost 5 fucking minutes.
I love aardvarks.
Yeah.
They're so majestic. The real question is, why didn't you mention the other option of throwing up?
The sink?
No. The other option.
The floor?
Which is onto, that girl that I saw you with a few weeks ago. Could have just puked on her if you wanted.
You mean those months? It's been a couple of months.
No, that was a month ago.
Oh?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, are you talking about the person I'm actually dating?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, she wasn't
thrown
here.
up on her.
Was she not into it?
I mean, I haven't asked.
Just
so
pry
I
your
guess
mouth
that's
open
fair.
and just go straight into it. Just blah. That's the only way that we show affection. Baby birder.
I mean, in today's day and age, you have to ask permission to do that.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you need a permission slip? Send it home with their parents?
It makes the legality issues a lot more straightforward when you have it. It has to be notarized, though.
All right. I'll notarize it. I am a minister, so I mean I can witness
You
anything.
can perform exorcisms. You can
I can
notarize.
cast
you can
out
wed.
false prophets. I can authorize you to vomit on other people.
You could say
Hit
it's
me
for
up.
religious reasons.
I'll extend it. So this week we're breaking the cycle, boils and ghouls. This is going to be really desperate. So John, would you like to explain the reason that you are not up on the docket today?
What's a docket? No.
John is pleading the fifth now. We're moving on.
So do you want 10% of the truth?
Oh.
No, I just couldn't think of any ideas, and then I was out of town for a majority of last week, and that's just last week.
Yeah.
Because we've recorded every single week.
We have. We're very diligent.
No, I just couldn't think of anything, and just the thought of trying to just bumblefuck through one more topic when my heart wasn't even in it was just a little too much for me. So
I'm just saying
I'm taking an emotional break. I just want to sit back. I just want to enjoy you guys.
Okay. I have never known you to phone anything in. So, I mean, I would say... So what we're going to wind up doing is I put up our very first poll today, and it's not the one that normally gets touched around 7 a.m. when we're restless in bed. The poll was to differentiate between whether or not the audience wanted us to cover the Stargate project or the BTK killer. We received a resounding affirmation that the Stargate project, yes.
Yep.
BTK, no. So thank you all for participating, and if you want to follow up with us further, that's on Twitter, @DisinformedPod. You can also find us on Instagram @DisinformedPodcast, and Facebook.com/DisinformedPodcast for all of you uninitiated. So that is what you are going to get today, good friends and constant listeners, is the Stargate project. Are you intrigued, gentlemen?
Yeah, that's that one show, right?
Yes,
The
it is
Battle
the one
Geek
that stars
Galacticas.
Kurt Russell. And,
Yeah, with the pyramid and the light
yep,
and
and the
stars.
Fifth Avenue's bars. Yeah. Bonnie Way.
Does it involve pizza as well?
No,
gates?
that would be the Fargate, and that's Aqua Teen Hunger
I don't think you're
Force.
supposed to
It's
say that
dramatically different. I'm allowed to say anything. I'm not employed. So, the Stargate project was the 1991 codename for a secret U.S. Army unit, originally established in 1978 at Fort Meade, Maryland by the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA for those following at home, and SRI International, which is a California contractor, to investigate the potential for psychic phenomena in military and domestic intelligence applications. That's very exciting, I know. The project and its precursors and sister projects originally went by various code names. Get a load of this one, kids. Gondola Wish, Grill Flame, Eyes of the World, Center Lane, Sunstreak, Dark Star, and Scanate.
See also things that could have been second stage Ozfest.
Yes, I was going to say these are new metal as fuck.
Yeah, what was that second one?
Grill Flame.
Yeah, like
Sponsored
right
by
next
Burger
to Cold
King.
Chamber.
So those were the names until 1991, where they were consolidated and rechristened as Stargate Project. So, are we all with me thus far? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll get you a little further. And for those following along at home, this is lifted mostly from Wikipedia, with, of course, my normal, whipping in of other fun facts. So, Stargate project work primarily involved remote viewing, which is the purported ability to psychically see events, sights, or information from a great distance. The project was overseen until 1987 by Lieutenant Frederick Holmes Atwater, known affectionately as Skip, who was an aide and a psychic headhunter, there's your air quotes, to Major General Albert Stubblebine, and subsequently president of the Monroe Institute.
What's the Monroe Institute?
The Monroe Institute, since I knew you would ask. My second tab of the evening.
Hey, stay in your lane. Be problematic, but don't take my tabs.
So, Robert Monroe was a radio broadcasting executive. There's the stroke, kids. Executive, who became known for his research into altered consciousness, and he founded the Monroe Institute. The Monroe Institute, essentially, where did it go?
Touches butts.
Oh my lord.
In space.
Sounds like it. Remote butt touching.
Would you open, please?
Oh, they invented the panties that have the remote control vibrating inside. You know, you hold the control, but there's the... Yeah.
And they scream on buses without anyone knowing why?
Yeah. I usually assumed it's from existential dread.
I mean, that's what I do.
I'm approaching 30!
Ah!
Let me send random people Instagram messages.
Tell me a secret!
The secret. So this apparently is going to go... But essentially, they were trying to figure out ways that they could remove sort of noise and problems from individuals who are attempting to expand consciousness. Okay. So, the Institute is a nonprofit education and resource organization devoted to the exploration of human consciousness, sponsored by Gaia.com, Gaia.com, based in Faber, Virginia, yada, yada, yada. Why do we need all this background? Wikipedia, you're failing me today.
You are really harnessing my energy.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm struggling so hard. So it was founded by Monroe after he started having what he called out-of-body experiences, now also commonly referred to as OBEs. It comprises several buildings on 300 acres. Its activities included various techniques based on audio guidance processes in order to expand your consciousness and explore areas of consciousness not normally available in a waking state. So guided meditation, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
All right.
So, that's fun. But the unit for the Stargate project was small scale, comprising about 15 to 20 individuals, and was run out of, I quote, an old, leaky wooden barracks. Ostentatious as hell. That's what we like.
It's going to call bullshit, but I can't see that as actually being bullshit.
Yeah, it's the United States government. Of course it's leaky.
No, that makes sense.
Like WikiLeaks. The Stargate project was terminated and declassified in 1995 after a CIA report concluded that it was never useful in any intelligence
I'm gonna
operation.
say from 91 to 95, that's not a long time for something to be declassified. Like, what are we still waiting on to be declassified?
Well, I was going to say, it started in 78.
Oh, sorry.
In 91 is when it became Stargate, but it went through a lot of permutations to that
Okay,
point.
well, that's
So
still a long
it's been
time
around for a
then.
minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say 5 years, that's a big crash and burn. Like,
Yeah, but they tried real hard. Information provided by the program was vague and included irrelevant and erroneous data, and there was reason to suspect that its project managers had changed the reports so they would fit background cues. So, altering reports to try to make them seem more factual to keep getting money from the government. I have never heard of this happening before. I'm so incredulous about it. It's strange. I mean, I do work for a university. I've never seen this happen before.
Wait, what?
Integrity.
So, the program was also featured in the 2004 book and 2009 film, both titled The Men Who Stare at Goats. Although neither mentions it by name.
Okay.
So there you are.
That George, the Men Who Stare at Goats was
I
a
have
George
heard of that
Clooney
movie,
vehicle.
yes. I have not seen it, but I do recall it.
It also stars Kevin Spacey, who is everyone's favorite Uncle Touchy right now. So it's well worth... and Jeff Bridges, also,
Beautiful man.
Yeah.
Topical.
Just long-haired and angrily staring out at the world. So their methodology for the Stargate project. They created a set of protocols designed to make the research of clairvoyance and out-of-body experiences more scientific. I can feel
It's a
the
good
Gaia.com vibes. It's right there. They also wanted to minimize as much as possible session noise and inaccuracy. We'll get into that a bit later. The term remote viewing emerged as shorthand to describe this more structured approach to clairvoyance. Project Stargate would only receive a mission after all other intelligence attempts, methods, and approaches had already been exhausted. So this is the last run, bottom of the barrel. There's nothing else we can get out of us here. We bled everything else dry. Let's give it to the psychics. It was reported that at peak staffing, there were over 22 active military and civilian remote viewers providing data. People leaving the project were not replaced. When the project closed in 95, this number had dwindled down to 3.
What did it start as again? How many people?
They were around 22 at peak.
Okay.
They got down to 3. One of them was using fucking tarot cards.
I mean, it seems legit to me. That's how I do the scheduling at work.
The King of Cups reversed. Obviously, Logan's working 8 hours.
Yeah.
According to Joseph McGonigal...
That's bullshit. It's not McGonagall.
Yo, it's McGonagall, bitch. The Army never had a truly open attitude towards psychic functioning. Hence,
you don't take my fake shit seriously?
Well, fuck you.
Psych! Ick. Hence, the use of the term giggle factor and the saying, I wouldn't want to be found dead next to a psychic.
I mean, I wouldn't either.
I mean, why
fuck
not?
You and your astrological sign.
Yeah, well, yeah. Scorpio. Scorpio rising in the morning. Information in the United States on psychic research in some foreign countries was poorly detailed, based mostly on rumor and innuendo from secondhand or tertiary reporting, attributed to both reliable and unreliable disinformation sources from the Soviet Union. So, the CIA and DIA decided they should investigate and know as much about it as possible. So, let's get into this clairvoyant thing. Let's see what happens. Let's take a couple tabs, and let's just wake up feeling refreshed and seeing other worlds.
I was wondering, like, when the LSD was coming in.
They were doing similar testing at the time. This falls back into the elephants on acid thing as well.
Yeah.
It's like, it's 78. People are really trying to break new ground. So
it's
like,
the thing.
Clairvoyance. Let's see how this works. So, various programs were approved yearly and refunded accordingly. So this was annually reviewed from 78 on forward. Okay. So, of course, they doctored their paperwork. Reviews were made semi-annually at the Senate and House Select Committee level. Work results were reviewed and remote viewing was attempted, with the results being kept secret from the viewer. So you were never told whether you got something right or wrong because they didn't want to give you positive or negative affirmation to bias you to like, oh, I'm doing so marvelously. I think the opening scene Ghostbusters of like the electric shocks actually working and the kid picking up and the girl not getting it at all. So
yes.
Yeah. It was thought that if the viewer was shown they were incorrect or correct, it would damage their confidence and skill.
Aww.
It's like our sex life.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
This was a standard operating procedure throughout the years of military and domestic remote viewing programs. Feedback to the remote viewer of any kind was rare. It was kept classified and secret. Remote viewing attempts to sense unknown information about places or events. That's essentially what the goal is with remote viewing. So you will sit in a room, isolate, and attempt to visualize something that has happened. So I see a giant cannon that is being housed in North Korea right now. Let's describe what it looks like and tell me all the particulars about it. A form of white noise is typically included in attempts to assist in blending spatial states and preventing interference from taking place. So they don't want distractions. They want you to be able to just focus on what's in the mind's eye. Normally viewing is performed to detect current events, but during military and domestic intelligence application, viewers claimed to sense things in the future, experiencing some precognition.
Ooh.
Yes. I also have to apologize, and you may cut this out as well. It's like the half reading is screwing me up again. So, like, reading past the pop blocker, I'm like half blind.
Well, I mean, you can just remove the pop
I vote
blocker
to
if you
leave
want
this
it.
in because it shows you have a human side.
I'm almost human.
More human.
Than human.
Yes,
Yeah.
as
There it
close
is.
as you can.
Now I can
just
see.
Literally eat.
I
the
want
pop.
to touch it with my tongue.
I wouldn't. That's kind of dusty.
I mean, that's why I wanted to touch it with my tongue.
Oh.
I love Dusty. She's so sweet. In 1970s, the United States intelligence sources believed that the Soviet Union was spending 60 million rubles annually on psychotronic research.
How does that convert to squargles?
Squargles? It's about 700,000 squargles.
Oh, that's a pretty shit conversion rate.
I was going to say the rubles is, not much compared to squargles.
Okay.
I mean, you get bang for your buck with a Scarble.
Is Scargle... You've had me all fucked up. Is that bullshit?
Scarbles?
What's a ruble?
A ruble is the Russian currency,
No,
sir.
it's not.
Yeah, it
Yes,
is.
yes, it
I
is.
know that it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bless your beard. You don't know
A
shit.
Canadian currency is called the loonie, sir. So,
Okay,
I mean,
I mean-
comparatively, you could get a lot worse.
Okay.
In response to these claims that the Soviet program had produced results, the CIA initiated funding for new programs known as Scan-8, which is short for Scan by Coordinate, and Eyes of the World, which is fairly self-explanatory, in the same year. Remote viewing research began in 1972 at the Stanford Research Institute.
Oh, that's a place full of sunshine and hope.
In
Yeah,
Menlo
cooking up
Park,
some good
California.
stuff.
So at the same time they were allowing people to shoot one another with fire extinguishers whilst wearing panty girdles on their head, they said, hey, let's fund these crazy motherfuckers to see if they can see things with their mind's eye.
A lot of good shit happening in this time frame.
I love
Yeah.
Stanford.
So does Becky. My wife.
Acceptance is important, John. So their proponents, Russell Targ and Harold Puthoff, it's no Robotham, but it's Puthoff. The proponents of the research said that a minimum accuracy rate of 65%, which was required by clients, was often exceeded in later experiments.
Oh boy.
Bullshit. Physicists Russell Targ and Harold Puthoff began testing psychics for SRI in 1972, including one who would later become an international celebrity, Israeli Yuri Geller. You may know Geller because they would claim that he could actually bend spoons with his mind. He was supposed to be telekinetic.
I can bend spoons
With your
my
butthole.
hand. On a good day.
I can bend spoons with my teeth. if
See, I'm
there's peanut butter on them.
pre-arthritic, so it kind of fucking hurts to try.
So their apparently successful results garnered interest within the U.S. Department of Defense. Ray Hyman, not kidding,
Bless him.
professor of psychology at the University of Oregon, was asked by Air Force psychologist Lieutenant Colonel Austin W. Keebler.
This is all bullshit. There's
You
not a
would wish.
Hyman, a
There's
Keebler.
Hyman
so
Keebler,
many-
Robotham.
So many coincidental names.
Isn't it fun?
So did they all, after this collapsed, did Keebler go start that, and then
You know what's
Hyman
funny?
went, and I don't know what a Hyman else...
I was debating on doing this. They actually do have a debrief for everyone associated with the program after this from Wikipedia to tell what they went
Kind of
on
like
to.
the credits rolling at the end of the
Uh-huh.
movie, like Keebler went on to...
Exactly. So he founded, the Keebler Sandwich Cookie Company. So in any event, we can get to that if we have enough interest by the time we get through this
I
nonsense.
don't know, but maybe.
Yeah,
see,
we'll clap
we'll
our
see.
hands together.
Yeah.
But so Keebler, who is the director of behavioral research for ARPA, I don't know what ARPA is. I don't care.
It's like DARPA, but without the D.
It's
not
without the
as fun.
dirt. To go to SRI and investigate. He was to specifically evaluate Geller. Hyman's report to the government was that Geller was a complete fraud, and as a consequence, Targ and Puthoff lost their government contract to do further work with him. The result was a publicity tour for Geller, Targ, and Puthoff to seek private funding for further research or work with Geller. One of the project's claimed successes was the location of a lost Soviet spy plane in 1976 by Rosemary Smith, a young administrative assistant recruited by project director Dale Graff. Now, for those of you who enjoy Ender's Game,
Graph.
you
yeah,
may see
yeah.
some very interesting parallels while we look at this process. In 1977, the Army Assistant Chief of Staff for Intelligence, Systems Exploitation Detachment, started the Gondola Wish program to evaluate potential adversary applications of remote viewing. So essentially saying, if we can help to better ourselves against those who wish to do us harm, we'll see whether or not we can do this as a means for defense, is to have the psychics tell us when the attacks are coming.
Those damn Ruskies.
The
So they
program
have, like,
further
Matilda just sitting around.
bleeding out the nose, just
11.
yes, 11, just pointing her hand at everybody. The program further branched into a subset designated Dark Star in the same year, where elements of space exploration were incorporated into the project.
Oh, good.
Anticipation of hostile alien entities was the primary aim and focus of this branch.
So this is basically the prologue to Trump's Space Force.
Essentially.
Okay.
But I really enjoy this. That it's like, in addition to, hey, foreign or domestic, also intergalactic.
Gotta
Planetary.
cover all your bases.
Think big.
Yes, I mean, the aliens might be coming. We may need to clean it up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Army Intelligence then formalized the Gondola Wish and Dark Star programs in mid-1978, and an operational program, Grill Flame, based in buildings 2560 and 2561 at Fort Meade, Maryland. I also love that, like, a year after Star Wars, we're like, hey, we should probably start investigating the stars.
Listen, it says a galaxy far, far away, but what if it was super, super close?
I mean,
You know?
I'm scared to death of that Emperor. He's probably going to come get us. That Darth Vader's a badass. We need to prepare for him.
He looks like my grandpa in hospice, and kind of freaks me the fuck out, to be honest.
He's got a weird mouth harmonica installed in his helmet, and I don't know what I can do against him.
He can shoot lightning out of his fingertips, and it reminds me of my uncle.
He can smell really far. So then, in early 1979, the research at SRI was integrated into Grill Flame, which was redesignated INSCOM Center Lane Project,
Also won a
ICLP.
Grammy.
I mean, these things roll trippingly off the tongue. In 1984, the existence of the program was reported by Jack Anderson, and in that year, it was unfavorably received by the National Academy of Sciences National Research Council. In late 85, the Army funding was terminated, but the program was redesignated Sunstreak and funded by the DIA's Scientific and Technical Intelligence Directorate. So basically, welcome to how the U.S. government works. We cancel it, we change its name, we slide it over into another section, and we refund it again. So for those of you who enjoy the X-Files, this shit actually happens. They don't just joke about it. So it hurts your mind. So now we're into the 90s. And all of this has happened. It's been redesignated like 9 times, and they haven't provided anything other
So they
than...
Fantastic Four'd it.
Yes. They just keep funding it, they keep recasting, and
It's
hope that something
terrible
will happen.
every single time, but they keep finding new studios to produce it.
And they have one Soviet spy satellite that they discover that turns into basically, you know, the Chris Evans of the group that lives on to do better things. And
Cap.
the rest of it just goes to shit.
Yeah.
So in 1991, most of the contracting for the program was transferred from SRI to Science Applications International Corporation. This is a very bland reading. I'm sorry, kids.
That
We're
is
getting
the
better.
most general name that I've heard the whole time.
With Edwin May controlling 70% of the contractor funds and 85% of the data. I also want to remind all you listeners, you chose this shit. I could have been talking about someone tying women up and cutting them to pieces. You chose facts.
Hey, I'll cut in.
Pun intended.
I'll say that I think BTK you've heard a lot about everywhere.
I was
The
just going to talk
Stargate.
about the mail.
God fucking damn it. Anyway, continue with goddamn Stargate.
You're welcome. So its security was altered from Special Access Program to Limited Dissemination, and it was given its final name, Stargate. Which still means not a goddamn thing relative to the information they're attempting to gather, other than the space stuff. But now that we're on this, let's have a bit of a break, because I am so thrilled.
I was wondering when this was going to happen.
So thrilled that we have found a sponsor that is literally taking the internet by storm. And if you have not heard of them, there's something terribly wrong with you.
Please.
We are sponsored this week by Screwchew. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is the first co-opted chewable that contains the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis that is available without a doctor's prescription. So you better get really excited for this.
Okay.
So we are supremely excited in ways that we can't describe without willing a hashtag movement into existence to promote a new sponsor that is arousing both controversy and rapture all over the internet. Screwchew. Screwchew is a service dedicated to bringing what we can only loosely label prescription treatments for men who don't like pills, hate going to the doctor's office, and have nothing but utter disdain for themselves and others, so they can only convey their irrepressible rage by fucking it out of their system. Each patient subscribing to our prescription subscription service is reviewed by a back alley hack of a physician or by an arbitrary identified stranger on the street who assists us by maniacally laughing and pointing at whomever we direct them to. This helps ensure that no respected member of the medical profession has anything to do with our product, helping to keep you as far away from a doctor as humanly possible. We also offer patient care from licensed physicians if you're a pussy. Choose ScrewChew right now, and if you visit screwchew.edu, enter our offer code IDIOT at checkout, and you can get your first bail bond paid in full for free. That's right, get one get-out-of-jail-free card brought to you by ScrewChew in honor of the Disinformed podcast. I mean, hey, if you're already making bad decisions like raw-dogging your neighbor's daughter while he's away on a 10-minute beer run, why not be certain that Junior's turgid and ready to do some van damage? There is no use crying over spilt seed. ScrewChew, the best bad decision that you'll make today. Or, ScrewChew, we help make time travel possible.
Now, I'm not going to lie that you need to be careful with your ScrewChew because I thought I had a pack of Orbit in my pocket and I was at work and instead took ScrewChew and guys, can I stay at one of your places tonight? I can't afford to, I need to lay low.
You use that bail bond real quick?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a whole pack.
Okay.
Usually I go through 6 pieces of gum in a shift.
Now, when you say...
Then it turned into 6 pieces of cum. And
when you said lay low, I thought that was what ScrewChew was supposed to help you with, but you meant in a different context.
Yeah, entirely.
All right.
I can't endorse this in good faith.
Well, I can, because you can take it on an empty stomach. I mean, you could have had like a full meal of truck stop hot dogs, and you can still get that lot lizard back to your hotel room and get at least a bucket out of you, just because of the ScrewChew. I cannot recommend this enough.
So I have a question, okay? I know someone that is...
You have to take it orally, Mike. I can't tell you. You can't keep shoving them up your ass. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, that's what I'm told, but I still refuse to believe. Anyway, I have a friend that is gluten intolerant, okay? Is there a version of that you can, that I can suggest to this person?
There's no gluten in ScrewChew. I'm sorry. I mean, and you can chew with your butthole, I've heard, but I mean, you just can't ingest it that way.
Well, if vagina dentate is a thing, then
anale dentate. Anyway, again, ScrewChew, the best bad decision you'll make today. So, in 1995, the Defense Appropriations Bill, Robotham, pussy. The bill directed that the program be transferred from the DIA to CIA oversight. And here we go, the horses left the barn. The CIA commissioned a report by the American Institutes for Research that found that remote viewing had not been proved to work by a psychic mechanism, and said it had not been used operationally. The CIA subsequently canceled and declassified the program. Like, this is ridiculous nonsense, and this is not going to continue to happen any longer.
We spent money on what?
This is why we didn't have a vending machine down the hallway at CIA headquarters, because you fuckers are paying some guy to sit in a room and hum. So in 1995, it was transferred to the CIA, and a retrospective evaluation of the results was done. Here's where the fun starts. The appointed panel consisted primarily of Jessica Utz and Ray Hyman. Oh, Hyman. Hyman had produced an unflattering report on Uri Geller and SRI for the government 2 decades earlier, but the psychologist David Marks found Utz's appointment to the review panel puzzling, given that she had published papers with Edwin May, considering this joint research likely to make her less than impartial. May is one of the individuals who helped to found it and start pitching it to people back in the 70s. A report by Utz claimed the results were evidence of psychic functioning. However, Hyman in his report argued Utz's conclusion that ESP had been proven to exist, especially precognition, was premature, and the findings had not been independently replicated. Hyman then came to the conclusion: psychologists, such as myself, who study subjective validation, find nothing striking or surprising in the reported matching of reports against targets in the Stargate data. The overwhelming amount of data generated by the viewers is vague, general, and way off target. The few apparent hits are just what we would expect if nothing other than reasonable guessing and subjective validation are operating. Whereas Utz concluded, No one who has examined all of the data across laboratories, taken as a collective whole, has been able to suggest methodological or statistical problems to explain the ever-increasing and consistent results to date. A later report by the American Institutes for Research, AIR, came to a negative conclusion. Joe Nickel had written...
that bullshit, is it really called
It's
air?
really called AIR. They've got an air supply. Joe Nickel wrote, other evaluators, 2 psychologists from AIR, assessed the potential intelligence-gathering usefulness of remote viewing. They concluded that the alleged psychic technique was of dubious value and lacked the concreteness and reliability necessary for it to be used as a basis for making decisions or taking action. The final report found reason to suspect that in some well-publicized cases of dramatic hits, the remote viewers might have had substantially more background information than might otherwise be apparent. So if you say, I want you to envision a giant Soviet missile that may be housed in Pakistan, in the hills of Yugoslavia, that may be painted gray, and maybe sitting on the back of a truck that has the license plate, go fuck yourself. Tell me what this might look like.
Bullshit.
Exactly.
I got nothing.
Wait, you have to hum and get tarot cards out, and then that's your die box with your dragon on it. According to AIR, which performed a review of the project, no remote viewing report ever provided actionable information for any intelligence operation. Based on the collected findings, which recommended a higher level of critical research and tighter controls. Who doesn't want tighter controls? The CIA terminated the $20 million project, citing a lack of documented evidence that the program had any value to the intelligence community. Time magazine stated in 1995, 3 full-time psychics were still working on a $500,000 a year budget out of Fort Meade, Maryland, which would soon close.
Shit, I need to get on that.
Yeah,
I know I'm
you're
a little
in the
late to the
wrong
party,
line.
but...
So this is my final run here, I believe. David Marks, in his book The Psychology of the Psychics, discussed the flaws in the Stargate project in detail. Marks wrote that there were 6 negative design features of the experiments. Divine design features, apparently. Ooh. The possibility of cues or sensory leakage was not ruled out. No independent replication. Some of the experiments were conducted in secret, making peer review impossible. As Michael will attest, that is very important. Mm-hmm. Marks noted that the judge, Edwin May, was also the principal investigator for the project, and this was problematic, making huge conflict of interests with collusion, cueing, and fraud being very possible. Marks concluded the project was nothing more than a subjective delusion, and after 2 decades of research, it had failed to provide any scientific evidence for the legitimacy of remote viewing. Stargate project was claimed to have been terminated in 1995 following an independent review. So, there you are.
All right.
The executive summary.
Where was the bullshit?
Yeah, there was a lot of words and facts and numbers and...
I tried my best to be engaged on calling bullshit, but I was just just grasping at random shit, like the names, and air, like there wasn't
Which
much to really go on.
Which names would you say sounded odd to you?
Keebler sounded odd. Hyman in particular.
Mm-hmm. Utz nuts, yeah. It's one of the things I was terrified of when looking at this, because I love the topic and I'm really interested. The reason I chose it is the film Suspect Zero. If you haven't seen, Ben Kingsley plays a gentleman who was a remote viewer, and he's trying to track a serial killer by using distance location. So that's the reason I chose it. It was an interesting thing, but I realized, the CIA actually had a program, or not CIA, but initially the intelligence community utilized this to try to, discover things.
It's the DIA bullshit?
No. DIA is a thing.
Okay.
You were right on the good path with names.
Oh, shit.
2 of the names included in the project names are fake.
Okay.
And I'm not going to make you guess.
Please.
Is it Potham?
No. So their project names are Gondola Wish, Grill Flame, Eyes of the World, Center Lane, Sunstreak, Dark Star, Scan8, and then Stargate Project.
I'm going to say Eyes of the World because it is too... It's not
POD.
specific... Or it's too close to it.
Okay. Any stabs there, John?
No.
Okay.
No.
Eyes of the World I made up.
Yes.
Okay.
So well done.
Nice.
Ha.
Dark Star is a Grateful Dead song.
Fuck.
Subsequently, the excuse I had for the Dark Star project is also false. So the saying that the program branched into a subset for where elements of the space exploration were incorporated and anticipation of hostile alien entities was the aim and focus of the branch. That's all me.
Really? I honestly expected it.
So yeah, Dark Star did not exist. They didn't care about aliens coming to try to take over our brain. No one cared. And I tried to sell it with the Star Wars thing, and I'm glad that that slid by.
Honestly, is
Well,
also
that's
fucking
what-
far-fetched.
Yes.
When you mentioned the Star Wars, I thought of the Star Wars project.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what really sunk it in is, oh yeah, I mean, if they're pretending to do that, they might as well throw a little bit of extra money
Dude.
in.
If you had 30 seconds to recap Stargate, like you know what I mean? Like a elevator pitch for Stargate.
Okay.
What would you say?
It was a government-funded program where they attempted to quantify and then subsequently utilize psychic ability in defense applications.
Wow. Perfect.
Which is essentially, the
I'm
argument.
not gonna lie. A lot of it,
It's boring. Yeah.
yeah, it just flies right over my fucking head. It's not terribly boring. Like
Right.
there's like things to clutch out
It's
here
a lot
and there,
of bland recitation
but
of
you
facts.
need to like explain like I'm 5 Reddit shit for that
Yes.
that particular topic.
And also just going bit by bit of saying, this is why it changed its name to this. This is why it changed its name to this. But otherwise,
It
if
just
I
sounds
did
like
that...
fucking government hocus pocus shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also, if I just gave you the 30-second elevator pitch, that's basically what it was.
Right.
So, the other lie is that a form of white noise is typically included in attempts to assist blending spatial states and prevent interference from taking place. They actually don't want any noise at all. They want the person to have a dead silent, which is one of the things alluded to earlier, where they said they try to cut down on noise as much as humanly possible in the course of it. However, when in the movie Suspect Zero, the individual used white noise, so they had a hiss and a crackle thing in the background, and he would tap his hand on a table to help assist his viewing, which is completely antithetical to what the project actually wanted. So that, boils and ghouls, is the entirety of the Stargate phenomenon. But yeah, this thing has got full breakdown of what everybody, like how Puthoff went off, and Edwin May had different things, and Targ had all this stuff, so yeah.
Ed McMahon.
Did
Yeah.
any of them continue trying to do psychic shit? No. I want to...
Where did
What's the
where did
most-
Keebler go?
Yeah.
That's the
Let's
one I'm
see.
interested in.
We'll scroll down to the military personnel. They don't include Keebler. We have Ed
He died.
Dames, Joseph
No, it's not
McGonigal.
been decommissioned yet.
Ooh,
Declassified.
McGonigal claims he
Yes,
had a remarkable memory of very early childhood events. He grew up surrounded by alcoholism, abuse, and poverty. As a child, he had visions at night when scared and began to hone his psychic abilities in his teens for his own protection when he hitchhiked.
Well,
He-
see, I relate because sometimes I go into the bathroom at night and I look into the mirror and I see all the years that have passed by the lines on my face. I feel like all they should have said is that he's had an existential crisis.
I thought you were going to say that you tried to,
Throw up in the bathtub?
or utilize your psychic abilities to remember the girls that you fucked previously while you're masturbating.
Ah.
He doesn't
wanna
have
remember
he's-
that.
He's got pictures and locks
Let
of
my
hair, that's
shame
all
be
fine.
there.
There you go. So in any event, yeah, some of the explanations here are more fun than any of the facts that were there. Ooh, they had something apparently called Project Jedi, which was allegedly run by special forces primarily out of Fort Bragg with Stargate. I'm going to have to investigate that. Project Jedi sounds fun.
Have they made a lightsaber? Like an actual lightsaber?
Wouldn't that be fun? I don't believe they have. Not to my knowledge.
And I'm sorry, I know I just derailed this completely.
Do it.
But also, something that always, and you, Shane, probably definitely have the answer, maybe you too, Michael. How does the lightsaber in the lore stick to a certain length? You know what I mean? They're all the same length and they come out of the hilt? but they don't really explain, like, because if it's just light, because it's the internal, like, it's a crystal inside, right? And,
Correct. And they force light through the crystals to essentially
so
make
why
like
isn't
a
it just
laser
fucking
sword.
endless, like a flashlight?
There is an argument to be made that the calibration for the length of the lightsaber is in the
crystal?
hilt.
Oh,
And that's why you have
like
to
a
build
choke?
the hilt in order to... And there are little dials and knobs on the hilt, so you would imagine you can dial it up to make it a little longer. If you want.
And let's get a little nerdier still and a
Do
little
it.
more off topic. They don't explain this in a single canonical movie.
No.
Not one.
Well,
not a single movie. They don't do it.
I was actually just talking about this the other day with the things that I had a problem with The Last Jedi.
Oh, stop. It was a beautiful movie.
But the argument of, like, it ruins the whole idea of going to hyperspace, because it's like, they talk about in the first film, in episode 4, that you have to track your path, because otherwise you could run into a supernova or crash into a planet.
Okay.
Like, it has to fully track. And then all of a sudden, in Last Jedi, she just hyperdrives through the, First Order fleet.
Yeah.
And it's like, she doesn't talk about hitting an override button or doing, and it's like, doesn't this basically instantly weaponize any ship that has a hyperdrive, where you can, like, I'm just going to crash my ship into your ship?
Maybe the counter argument is that that's us behind the wheel of a vehicle.
That's possible.
Like, we drive on a day-to-day basis, and we get to our destinations, and we know internally mapping where we're going, but the moment you're drunk, or, just want to off yourself, you can just drive through a fucking wall or drive into traffic.
Jerk the wheel.
And maybe that's where Rian Johnson was kind of at mentally when he was getting that going.
I can understand. But again, it just it begs the question, why doesn't everybody just do this whenever you're outnumbered in a battle? Just load everybody into the life pod, let's jettison this fucker and fire it at anything we want to.
Go real World War II Japan on it. And
just kamikaze everything.
Yeah. Something about just Star Wars is mentioned like 18 times, and I don't know why the lightsaber thing got put back into my fucking head, but there
I mean,
we are.
if we want to go further down, like, why is it they're able to project a plasma bolt out of a gun?
That's also fair,
That's also a reasonable size laser. Like, you'd think a laser gun would just be a straight laser that was, constantly going, like a las gun in the Dune mythos. But no, it's like, it's a compartmentalized bolt that fires out of those guns. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you're thinking, like, maybe because it's plasma, it could be like a modified railgun, but instead of shooting just a railgun, it uses high-powered magnets to just eject something really quickly.
And there's like a containment field around the bolt so that it's localized damage there, essentially.
Yeah. Something
for
I
the
appreciate.
laser gun, yeah, I mean, like, I guess it could be something where it's like it shoots little bolts, but they're just really like. There's a cool video that I've seen where if someone put, like, they had a coil that had a magnetic field, it was producing magnetic field or something, and they put a piece of metal in it, and they watched as it spun around, and after a while it actually, like, heated up and melted and just dropped right through the coil. Yeah. It could be something like that, where it's a little piece of metal in there, and it just heats that up. And then shoots
then I
it
take
like
back what I was going to say. Impressed me about that, about the plasma rifles or whatever, is that at least they don't show like clips, like having to empty and reload cartridges or whatever. Where it's just like, that wouldn't be the thing. Like I want my laser tag fantasy.
I always had the idea that, it's like an unstable molecule inside of a little, like, compartmentalized capsule, and as you fire it, it rips the capsule off and just sends the molecule out to impact. That's fun.
It could leave, like, it's just a very, very hot molecule that can ionize the air around it.
And I love nothing more than a hot molecule on a Friday night if I want to get rid of some screw chew.
Speaking of canon, in my head canon, the outro music has been playing for a minute now. And we've been, instead of reflecting on what we learned, we just instead talked about Star Wars, which is equally important in my opinion.
Hey, Kevin Smith's built an entire career about talking about Star Wars.
Entirely, That being said, we need to see the reboot of Jay and Silent. I'm not going to go see it in theaters, though. I'll just wait, because they don't want people to see it in theaters, apparently.
Who's got $100 to spend on Kevin Smith these days?
And how? I mean, I don't even think he can spend $100 on himself.
Well, he spends it every day on sativa.
That and vegan food.
Yes.
But yeah, I didn't learn anything.
No, and I'm sorry. That's a
No,
a
I
failing
mean, you
in
don't
my
have to be
ability
sorry at all.
to,
I'm just happy to be here in this room because it's been a minute. So maybe the next time we're in this room, I'll have a topic to discuss.
Well
If
done.
not, maybe we can just start doing in every 8th episode, every 20th episode. We
guest
just
star.
have a free-form, traditional approach, and we just sit in here and bullshit about dumb things, dumber things.
That's not a bad idea. I actually, in the course of discussing our dynamic here, I sort of explained it's funny because the research aspect is actually pretty familiar to Michael just on the basis of what he does for a living. And also subsequently for me, based on what I do for a living, I have to do research pretty routinely. He has to do research. You are kind of the everyman character, so you
I just
get
drink beer.
Yeah, you stumble in and give us kind of different perspective, but you aren't there to. I have 8 pages of research that I could read off all this random nonsense.
That's a spoiler coming up next, but Michael said he researched for 5 hours on the next topic.
That might be an under-exaggeration.
And that's what I'm fucking saying. And I agree with Shane even more so on that point where it's like, I'm not going to do that. I'll get 30 minutes. 30 minutes is like a try. I can say on Deer Hunter Part 2, which I guess I will do, like I'll probably spend an hour maybe on that one. But that's going to be the max. That's the cap.
Yeah.
That's trying.
And I think this is an idea we need to refine this a little bit more versus just reading stuff off the Wikipedia, because as evidenced by this evening's exploits, it's not always the most riveting listening. So we have to find ways to just, let's have fun. We'll keep the topics lively and we'll move along. But yeah, we can't just blindly recite facts for 4 hours. We might kill each other by the end of it.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I'm excited for the next episode.
Agreed.
And thank you for this one.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Say thank you like, after someone slipped something in your drink and you're barely sliding off your bar
I'm going to
stool.
make you some cupcakes.
Yeah, please. Let's do that.
Want a taco?
Ladies and germaphobes, thank you so much for enduring this action-packed episode where we discussed Stargate and all of its myriad wonders. For the Disinformed podcast, I am his Lord and Master Shane.
I am the socks that he wears, John.
And I am his bitch, Michael.
Thank you for coming, everybody. I hope you used some screw chew beforehand. And don't worry,